You will not be using counter trend support and resistance until way later in the course, but it is something I want to go over to ensure that you have a full grasp of technical analysis and a full grasp of support and resistance, because these levels do matter and will matter, especially when we go over some strategies later in the course. But they're not going to matter for you right now. It's just important that you understand the concept of them. The reason they don't matter right now is because I always suggest for beginner traders to start with trend trading for a few different reasons. Trend trading is a much easier concept to grasp your head around. If a market's moving in one direction, let's try to jump on that trend and write it down. Also, it gives you slightly more accuracy and the possibility of hitting bigger targets. So trend trading is best for beginners, but we do have some more advanced strategies later in the course going over counter trend trading strategies. So what we just looked at was trend continuation levels, which meant if the market was pushing up, then we were trying to hop on that trend by looking at the previous resistance level and using it as support. So what do you think counter trend resistance and support is? Well, with a counter trend support or resistance level, it's the exact opposite of that. So let's say we have something that looks like this, then we have a market doing this, and the market starts to head lower. We're looking at major levels with this counter trend support and resistance approach for the market to hit and possibly bounce off of. Now, we're not necessarily looking for the trend to completely reverse. We're just expecting some type of bounce from a counter trend level. So in this video, what I'm going to do is give you the most objective way possible to find these levels and show you exactly how I spot them in my own personal trading. Again, I'm going to preface this yet again with this is not a strategy, only trying to get you very familiar with the concepts of trend continuation and counter trend support and resistance. Let's go ahead and dive in by looking at the chart. First off, I want you to tell me what trend we are in at current price right now. Based on the videos you've already seen, this should be quite easy to see. Are we in an uptrend or a downtrend or consolidation? This, hopefully, you said would be a downtrend. Here's the reason. We had a market pushing higher, breaking into new highs. We then had a break and close below, breaking into new lows. And at this point, we've created a lower high and a lower low in a 1, 2, 3 move, creating what we now consider a downtrend. So now that we're in this downtrend, let's push markets forward, push price forward. All right, we have a pullback. Now, tell me this. Since we've had this pullback, is this going to be a major level of support? Or do you think it is? We haven't covered this yet, so if you get this right, I'll be surprised, and that's awesome. Do you think this is a major level of support we need to look for a possible bounce? If you said yes, don't worry. Again, we haven't went over this, but the answer is no. In trend continuation, when the market is pushing lower like it is now, then what we see is a constant break of support levels to new support levels, a constant break of support levels to new support levels. So when we're looking for counter trend levels, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that a trader will say, oh, well, this previous swing low, even if price comes up here and does something like this and then drops, this is still not a level of support I'm going to be paying attention to, because we're still in what type of trend unless we close above here? We're still in a downtrend. So if we're still in a downtrend, the likely scenario is that we're going to break and close below this low. Therefore, this is the way you need to be looking for possible counter trend levels of support in this case, which is the first thing we're going over. What we do is look down from our swing low and to the left. So if we have a swing low, one of the easiest ways to do this, place a horizontal line on that swing low. Not on current price. No, we're placing it on the swing low because we're expecting price to push below it. When we push below that swing low with price, it's when we want to look for those counter trend support areas. So once price pushes below that area, let's see if it happens here pretty soon. We get a bigger pullback there. At this point, what we would be doing is looking at this line and scrolling the chart back and then asking ourselves, what is the next level of support? Not the next level of resistance. This is how I spot counter trend levels. You may have heard it done differently from other educators, but this is the way I do it and the way I would suggest that you do it as well, at least as long as you're in this course and following the parameters of this specific course. This is the way we're going to use it when we start using it for strategies in the future as well. Once we get a break and close below this level, we look down and to the left for the next support level. Where is that on the chart right now? This is the next support level that if price, think about it like this, if price continues lower, we don't know if it's going to or not. If it does, what's the next level of actual support it will hit eventually if it continues lower? That level is right here between an area close to something like 0.9499 and 0.9470. So what we do in this case is we now have price heading lower, right? We have this zone marked out. Again, this is not a strategy. This is just to help you conceptualize how we use levels of support and resistance, counter trend. We would wait for price to eventually get down to that level. Again, okay, we just pushed higher. Is this a major level of support we're going to trade off of? Hopefully you said no. This is just the previous swing low that we expect to break in a downtrend. You want to know something cool? What did we just go over? Trend continuation, support and resistance levels. There's previous support. What did it turn into? Resistance. Here was previous support. What did it turn into? Resistance, right? But with this counter trend level, all we're waiting for is price to now get to our zone we have created. So let's push price forward here. Uh-oh, look what happened. We come down almost to the pip, getting into our next level of support, and this is where we expect price to bounce up. What we would be doing if this was a strategy, we'll go over all this later in the video, is we would be waiting for the price to get to this area, and for the strategy we're going to cover later in the video, we'd be dropping down to smaller time frames and looking for possible entries to push the market higher. Again, not necessarily a complete reversal in trend, but if we can get a bounce out of this price right here at this level, then we can grab targets on smaller time frames quite easily. So if I hit play, we'll see that that level did in fact provide a bounce out of the market. So that's how we find counter trend support levels. We'll go through one more example of counter trend support, and then we'll switch and look at a couple of examples of counter trend resistance. So let's go find an example of counter trend support one more time, and I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so looking at the chart in front of you, where would you say the next level of counter trend support is? If we put a horizontal line right here, you can see that we just closed below this level of support. So if we just close below that level and we're continuing lower here with price, what's the next level of support? If we look down and to the left, price will inevitably hit. This is how we spot those counter trend levels. That level would be right here, correct? So with that being the case, we would draw out our little zone here on this level. And this is the area that we're looking at for possible counter trend support. If we push the market forward, we can see that we eventually get down into that area right in here, and we get a nice little bounce out of it. So again, we're not looking for complete reversals of trend. And I'm not expecting this market to come all the way back up here to the highs. I'm just expecting a bounce out of price out of these counter trend levels, which is something really important for you to understand. We're just looking for a bounce out of price. We can look for reversals, and we'll talk a lot more about looking for complete reversals out of these zones again later in the course. Not trying to tease you too much, but I do need you to understand this concept in its simplest form right now here at the beginning of the course in the technical analysis mastery section. So let's keep pushing the market forward here. As you can see, we get back in the zone, nice big jump out of the zone coming in because of the fact that this was support in the past. Let's see what continues to happen here as we push price forward. Okay, so we got a bounce out of price. Let's see when we actually close below our low here. If we do. There we go. We get a close below. So at this point, we have a close below. If we have price right here, this is our swing low. What's the next level of support we're going to hit? Well, we're almost in it, right? It's going to be this level right here. If price continues lower, this is the level it will hit if continues lower. So what we'll do is create a little zone here out of this area using our horizontal lines. It'll look something like this, and we'll wait for price to get to this area and expect price to bounce from this area. Again, just a bounce, not necessarily expecting a reversal. Let's hit play. We get into the area and what looks like almost like a head and shoulders pattern here. We have a head neckline and a push higher. So at this point, you should have a good understanding of what we're looking for in terms of counter trend support levels. Wherever price is right now, we're headed up, right? Wherever price is, we would be looking above this area and to the left for the next resistance level that price is going to hit. When I say that, I don't mean this resistance level. I mean literally at price moving higher right here, not all the way back. I'm not going through candles, if that makes sense, to find my next resistance level. I'm looking literally at price as it is and looking left and then going up candles until I find that resistance level. So with that being the case, let's actually take a look at a couple of bearish examples of this, levels of resistance that we're paying attention to, / how to find them. Not really that we're paying attention to, because we're looking at historic data right now, but let's take a look at a couple of bearish examples so you have a good grasp on this counter trend support and resistance concept. I'll see you in just a second. All right, as an overview, on the chart in front of you, where's your trend continuation level of support? It used to be resistance. It's now support. It's right there, right? So let's click forward here, see what happens. We push down to that level. We get a nice green candle right at what? The support area. So this market's already showing buying pressure from that support area. With this being the case, is this our level of major resistance that we're looking for, counter trend resistance? Is this the level we want to look for possible selling opportunities? Again, not a strategy. We're not actually looking for selling opportunities yet. We have to create a strategy out of this before we can look to actually trade it. But conceptually, would we be looking for sell opportunities there, metaphorically? Hopefully you were able to answer no, because this is just the swing high in trend, right? If we're in an uptrend, which we are, then we're expecting this swing high to break at some point. So what we do, we'll push the market forward here. Waiting. Okay, we got a break and close above this level. What's our next step? Once we get a break and close above this level, we're going to look left. We're going to scroll the chart back, and we're going to find the next level of resistance that this price will hit if it continues higher. Where is that level? Right here, right? So here we have a level of resistance. We'll put a little zone here that price is heading towards, and we know for a fact this is our next counter trend level of resistance because of the rules we have in place. We're looking up from price to the left. We're not looking through candles and looking at this level or anything like that. We're looking at literally the next level of resistance that price is going to hit if it continues higher, looking left, which is right here. So with this being the case, we're waiting on price to get there. Price gets there and we get a nice drop. It does act as resistance from this area of counter trend resistance. So hopefully now you have a good idea of this concept of support and resistance and using it in trend continuation from the last videos we did, and how we would use it in counter trend trades. And actually, before we end this entire support and resistance section of the course, I want to give you a little bonus video that I'm going to do next, which is how to magnify the amount that these levels of support and resistance actually matter. We're going to do this through a system I call OTZ, which is going to be a large part of a strategy you learn later on in the course, but I do want to get you familiar with it now so you understand how to add strength to support and resistance levels. So let's do an introduction to OTZ, or optimal trading zones is what OTZ stands for, in the next video, and I will see you there. Talk soon.